This story takes place during the time when a deadly fungus had taken over the Earth. Around 90% of the population had already been infected and changed. Still, there were a few people left, fighting to save whatever was left of humanity. It all began just 20 years ago. This fungus would enter through the human body, reach the brain, and then take full control. No scientist in the world had a cure for this outbreak. News about it was all over the place. Joel Miller and his daughter Sarah were still safe for now, because their city was in a secure zone. But overnight, everything changed. Late at night, Sarah heard gunshots coming from the neighbor's house. When she went to check, she was completely shocked. Her neighbor had turned into a zombie and jumped at her the moment she saw her. Luckily, Joel and his brother Tommy showed up just in time to save her. Now they had to get out of the city before lockdown, because the government had started bombing the infected areas. They drove as fast as they could and made it to the main highway, but it was already packed with traffic. There was a river near the edge of the city, so they turned the car that way, but every road looked the same, blocked or too risky. That's when a plane crashed right next to them, flipping their car. Somehow, all three of them made it out, but Sarah had gotten hurt. Tommy told Joel, "You two head toward the river, I'll meet you there." Joel did just that. Right then, a zombie spotted them and charged straight at them. It was about to attack when a soldier showed up and shot it down. Looking at the soldier's face, Joel started begging, "We're not infected, please don't shoot." But the soldier still fired at them and walked forward to finish Joel off. At the last second, Tommy appeared and shot the soldier down. By then, Sarah had already been hit in the stomach. Joel couldn't save her, no matter how hard he tried. He held her in his arms and cried for hours. 20 years later, all the world's governments had collapsed, and now Fedra authority was in charge. Their rules were brutal. Breaking them meant straight-up execution. To stand up to their cruelty, there was a group called the Fireflies. They clashed with FEDRA all the time. For the past 20 years, the Fireflies had been fighting for freedom against this military dictatorship. In Boston, there was a small Firefly unit, led by a woman named Marlene. She had a 14-year-old girl kidnapped from the Fedra military school, keeping a close eye on her. That girl's name was Ellie, the same girl who would one day change the fate of the world. Meanwhile, Joel was also in Boston, trying to get his hands on a truck so he could go rescue his brother Tommy. He used to talk to Tommy regularly over the radio, but it had been 3 weeks since he last heard from him. He tracked down the doctor who helped him connect with Tommy on the radio, got some info, and decided to head out. Over the past few years, Joel had met a woman named Tess. She'd become a big part of his life. She was handling a deal with some guys for a truck battery, but those guys took the money and didn't hand over the battery. Their leader, Robert, was already terrified. Turned out the battery that was supposed to go to Joel had been sold to someone else by his own people. And Robert knew if Joel found out what happened to Tess, he'd hunt them down no matter where they ran. Robert was scared stiff just hearing Joel's name, but his crew had already screwed up and there was no fixing it. Tess figured they weren't going to let her walk out alive. Right then, a bomb went off and everyone around got wrecked. Tess barely made it out. Her survival felt like a damn miracle. The next morning, she told Joel everything. She also told him that Robert's guys had sold the battery to someone else. Joel lost it. Without that battery, the truck was useless, and Tommy's life could be in danger. Now they had to figure out where that battery deal went down and who it was sold to. After paying off a few snitches, they finally got the info they needed. Back in Boston, all the Fireflies were planning to meet in that building tonight. The time had come to move the girl they'd been keeping hidden to where she needed to be. A few hours later, Joel and Tess showed up at the spot, only to find Robert dead and the battery lying right there next to him. It was totally busted. Looks like trying to sell a dead battery got him killed. The whole hallway was filled with bodies. As Joel walked further in, he saw a woman trying to help one of her wounded teammates. Before Joel could point his gun, Ellie jumped out of nowhere and came at him with a knife. But Joel was already on alert. Joel and Marlene knew each other well. A few years back, Tommy had actually worked with the Fireflies in Boston. Joel told her Tommy was in trouble, and he'd managed to get a truck to go get him, but now the battery turned out to be junk. Marlene was hurt and couldn't take Ellie where she needed to go. Plus, Fedra was just 5 minutes away from finding them, so she offered Joel the job. If he pulled it off, he could ask for anything he wanted from the Fireflies. Joel and Tess talked it over, got the location, and decided to go for it. But getting out of Boston during lockdown wasn't going to be easy. Anyone caught outside during curfew would either be shot on the spot or hung in public as a warning. Tess knew a secret way out. They were just about to leave the city when a soldier spotted them. He pointed a gun and started scanning them one by one. When it was Ellie's turn, she suddenly attacked the cop. That set him off, and he was ready to take her out. Joel started begging, just like he had 20 years ago when he was trying to save his daughter Sarah. That memory hit him like a truck, and something snapped. In a flash, he went off and beat the soldier down. Ellie was just standing there, stunned. That's when Tess quickly ran a scan on Ellie and saw that she was infected. Before they could do anything, Ellie showed them her bite mark. It was 3 weeks old. No one infected survives more than a day. which meant something in her blood was fighting off the virus. She was immune. That's why she mattered so much. After getting bitten, Marlene had kept Ellie locked up for 3 weeks, but she never turned. Anyway, they did make it out of the city, but soon they'd start regretting that decision. After walking peacefully for miles, they hit a spot where they got stuck. The main road ahead was packed with infected. They tried to take a different route, but a bunch of zombies came at them. One of them even bit Ellie. They barely made it out alive, and after pushing through a ton of chaos, they finally reached their destination. But the place was totally wiped out. Fedra had already hit it, killed all the fireflies, and looted everything. There wasn't even a working radio left, so they had no way to contact anyone to find out where Ellie needed to go next. Some of the people there had also been bitten. From what Ellie had heard, there was a firefly base somewhere out west, where doctors were trying to find a cure. Her blood could be the key to helping them create a vaccine, but Joel wasn't having it. He said they should just go back home. That's when Tess said, "This is my home now." And that's when they both realized Tess was infected. The virus had already started spreading through her. But Ellie, she was totally fine. Tess could see it clear as day. Ellie's blood might be the answer to everything. So she begged Joel, this was her final request. Get her where she needs to go. No matter what, keep her alive and fix everything else. Right then, some of the bodies around them started turning into zombies. And the second one made contact. The rest of them knew where Joel and Tess were. See, the fungus spreads for miles underground, and it's all connected. Joel took Tess's words to heart and set off on that dangerous journey. Meanwhile, Tess stayed back, dragging a swarm of zombies toward her, and blew herself up. Her screams echoed in Joel's mind. He wanted to look back, but now all he could focus on was the promise he made to keep Ellie safe. After hours on the road, they found a good truck and started heading toward Wyoming, where Joel's brother Tommy was living. Last time, he had reached out from a radio tower in Cody. That's when Ellie asked, "So, how did you guys split up anyway?" Well, that was a long story. Tommy had always wanted to make a name for himself, so right after high school, he joined the army. But after spending years out in the desert on duty, that dream never really worked out, so he quit. Then when the outbreak hit, he teamed up with Joel to help get people to Boston. It was during that time that Joel met Tess. Later on, Tommy crossed paths with Marlene and ended up joining the Fireflies. He thought maybe he could actually change the world, but the last they heard, he had left the Fireflies behind and was now living free. After a long trip, they finally made it to Kansas City, but the main highway was blocked, which meant they had to go through the city to get back on track. Ellie, staring at the map, had no clue where they were. That's when they spotted a guy, wounded, begging for help. Joel immediately knew it was a trap and just floored it right through him. But right after that, they hit spikes on the road and their car blew a tire. Next thing they knew, gunfire. They were completely pinned. Joel shot one guy and took out another by luring him in. But the third dude got the upper hand and had Joel in a chokehold, about to kill him. That's when Ellie pulled the trigger and saved Joel's life. The guy begged, "Please don't kill me, man. I'm begging you." He said his mom was the leader of this zone, and they could ask her for anything they wanted. But Joel didn't flinch. He finished him off right then and there. They didn't waste a second and slipped out through a back alley. Meanwhile, some patrols found Brian's body. Over on the other side of town, Brian's mom, Kathleen, was already interrogating a Fedra informant. See, the people of Kansas City had rebelled against Fedra. They had their own army now. And when Kathleen got the news about Brian, she snapped. She killed the snitch on the spot, convinced Fedra was behind her son's death. Right after, her men stormed that building, but Joel and Ellie had already gotten out. Still, where they were now wasn't much safer. About 4 blocks over, they spotted a tall high-rise. As soon as things calmed down, they headed straight for it. Meanwhile, while searching for Joel and Ellie, Kathleen's people got a lead on a hideout. They figured it probably belonged to Henry and his little brother Sam, 2 of the most wanted guys in Kansas City. Turns out, FEDRA had buried infected people in the basement of that same building. And not just there, dozens of these basements were scattered all across Kansas City. But this one, it was falling apart. Still, Kathleen ignored that and stayed focused on finding the people who killed her brother. On the other side, Joel was completely wiped out after climbing all the way up to the 33rd floor. So they found a room on that floor, set up a spot to crash, and passed out for the night. Late that night, Henry and Sam came up to that floor. They realized someone was there, so they made a plan. They snuck inside and pulled their guns on Joel and Ellie while they were asleep. But after a little talking, they all realized they were in the same boat. Everybody just wanted to get out of Kansas City. To earn their trust, Henry explained he was a local, but because of one mistake, he was now a most wanted man. A month ago, Sam was diagnosed with leukemia. Without meds, he wouldn't have made it. So Henry made a deal with Fedra. He ratted out Kathleen's brother. They killed him, and now Kathleen was out for revenge. Henry knew a secret way out of the city, but there was a catch. The place might be crawling with infected, and he didn't have a weapon. That's why he had pulled an empty gun on Joel and Ellie in the first place. Eventually, Joel decided to trust him, and by sundown, the group headed into the tunnels. One night, a full day, and the next evening went by inside that dark maze. But they finally made it out on the other side. Up ahead was a river. Once they crossed it, they'd be free. But just then, gunshots. They ducked behind a car. Someone was sniping at them from a building across the street. Joel told them to stay low. He made his way around the back, careful not to get spotted, then went in and took that guy out. Just then, Kathleen's convoy came into view. Henry, Sam, and Ellie ran for their lives while Joel covered them from the other side. After a lot of effort, Joel finally managed to shoot the truck driver, causing the truck to crash into a house. The crash broke open the basement, and infected started pouring out. Chaos broke loose. Kathleen's soldiers opened fire, but there were way too many infected. Suddenly, a zombie ripped the head off Kathleen's main guy. Ellie quickly hid inside an old car. Henry and Sam took cover under a nearby vehicle, but it looked nearly impossible for them to make it out alive. Joel kept covering them, but then a young infected girl jumped into Ellie's car and started flipping around. Scared, Ellie ran out and saw Henry and Sam were completely surrounded. She quickly pulled out her knife and helped them escape. Just then, Kathleen pointed a gun at Henry. But before she could shoot, a zombie got to her and took her down. Somehow, they managed to escape and found shelter in a house. Sam had been infected, but Ellie didn't tell anyone. She even tried putting her blood on his wound, hoping it might heal him. But a few hours later, he turned and attacked Ellie. Things got so bad that Henry had to shoot his own brother. The shock was too much for him, and in the next moment, he shot himself too. The next morning, after burying them, Joel and Ellie headed out for Wyoming. 3 months later, as they finally reached Wyoming, they were caught by a group of horseback riders. They had a dog that could sniff out infected, and they let it loose on them. Joel panicked, thinking if the dog caught Ellie, they'd kill her. But to his relief, nothing happened. Ellie was fine. Then one of the riders asked, "So, what are you two doing out here?" Joel, almost begging, said, "I'm just looking for my brother, Tommy." The leader of the group then asked, "What's your name?" As soon as Joel said his name, they brought them straight into their town. And the moment Joel saw Tommy, he got emotional. And why wouldn't he? The two brothers were meeting after so long. Maria was Tommy's wife, and their town had every facility you could think of. To keep it safe, there were tall wooden walls built all around, with guards on duty all the time. If anyone looked infected, they'd shoot them from half a kilometer away. All in all, the town was totally safe. When it came to good food, the two of them went at it like total foodies. Tommy had a lot of respect for his brother. He always knew what Joel needed before he even said it. He was really happy Joel had come by. But one question kept bothering him deep down. Who was that girl with him? Joel told him the whole story. And in the end, he added that if Tommy had stayed in touch, Tess might still be alive. Hearing Tess's name really hit Tommy hard, but he had his reasons. After leaving the Fireflies, he met Maria. Her people were super strict about this place. Using a radio was completely banned. Tommy had agreed to their rules and settled down with Maria. Joel said, "You could have at least let me know you were okay and wouldn't be talking anymore." Anyway, Joel still had to fulfill Tess's last wish, getting Ellie to the Fireflies' base. But lately, he hadn't been feeling well. His heartbeat had started to slow down. Maybe it was the cold weather here. Joel didn't want to take any chances, so he asked Tommy to take Ellie instead. The Fireflies' base was 5 days west from there, but the way was dangerous, full of infected and raiders. After Joel insisted a lot, Tommy finally agreed. But Ellie didn't trust anyone except Joel. She only felt safe with him. So in the end, Joel had to take her himself. Before they left, Tommy said, "The doors to this town will always be open for you both." Spending all that time with Joel had turned Ellie into a pretty sharp shooter, a skill that had come in real handy later on. The 5-day trip flew by with jokes and laughs, and before they knew it, they reached the Fireflies' base. But everyone had already left the base. After checking the map, they figured the Fireflies must have moved to Salt Lake City. Just then, they spotted some people below and quietly made their way to the horses. That's when one of them attacked Joel. Joel took him out, but he got seriously hurt in the process. Somehow, they got on the horse and escaped. They managed to get far enough away, but then Joel's condition got worse and he passed out, falling right off the horse. Ellie panicked and started crying. She had no idea where to go now. The world was cruel and people were liars. What could she possibly do alone? She rushed into nearby houses looking for meds and luckily found a needle and some thread. She stitched Joel's wound herself. Joel felt like this was the end, so he told Ellie to go back to his brother. But Ellie refused to leave him like this. No way. For 2 or 3 days, Joel didn't get any better. They were out of food too. So Ellie went out hunting and managed to shoot a big deer. But even after getting hit, the deer kept running. Ellie chased it. Meanwhile, 2 hunters had already found the deer. Ellie snuck up and pointed her gun at them. Their names were David and Martin. They were part of a big group that hadn't eaten in a long time. They offered to trade supplies for part of the deer. Ellie agreed to give them half in exchange for medicine, but only if they brought it right there. A while later, when they came back with the meds, Ellie grabbed it and ran off without wasting a second. After she left, Martin asked David, "Why'd you let her go?" "Her buddy's the one who killed Alex." David replied, "We'll get revenge for Alex." That night, their whole group feasted on the deer meat. Back with Joel, Ellie kept giving him medicine on time, hoping he'd recover soon. Joel wasn't her real dad, but to her, he was more than that. The next morning, when Ellie stepped outside, she saw David and a few of his guys headed her way. They were talking among themselves, saying they needed to catch the girl alive. Ellie ran back in, shook Joel awake, and said, "They're coming to kill you. I'll draw them away. If anyone gets close to you, kill them." Then Ellie jumped on the horse and started firing at them while riding off. They chased her, and one of them shot her horse. Ellie was captured. There were 5 or 6 of them. 2 of them dragged the horse away. David picked Ellie up and took her, and the rest went looking for Joel. But Joel was ready. As soon as he got the chance, he killed one of them. Then he used that guy as bait to lure in another one and forced them to tell him where Ellie was being held. Meanwhile, Ellie was trying to figure a way out of that jail. That's when she spotted a severed ear lying nearby, and her heart dropped. Turns out, David didn't let anything go to waste in these times of starvation. Most of his group didn't know the truth. Only David and a few close ones knew what was really going on. And maybe he had the same plans for Ellie too. But the moment she got a chance, Ellie broke David's finger and lunged for the keys. David hurt her pretty bad though. Right after, they started dragging her off to finish her. That's when Ellie bit him and screamed, "I'm infected, and now you are too!" David froze when he saw the mark on her arm, totally shocked. Before he could react, Ellie made a run for it. Meanwhile, Joel had made it to their base and was getting closer to finding Ellie. After a long struggle, David finally caught Ellie again. But even then, Ellie didn't hold back. She killed that psycho with her own hands. And just like that, Joel and Ellie made it out of another nightmare. From here, the story jumps back 14 years. We see a pregnant woman who had been bitten. Before the infection could spread, she gave birth to her baby and named her Ellie. She didn't even get the chance to feed her. Now everything was in the hands of Ellie's mom's friend, Marlene. Ellie's mom had lied to Marlene, telling her that Ellie was born before the infection hit. After that, Marlene saved Ellie and took her to Boston, where she got enrolled in a federal school and continued her studies and all that. In the present day, they had made it to Salt Lake City. Ellie was quiet, kind of sad, probably because she knew this was where they'd part ways. But then out of nowhere, they were attacked and taken captive by some people. Turns out they were fireflies. Marlene was there too. She told Joel that Ellie had been taken in for surgery. Joel was confused, like, "What surgery?" That's when Marlene told him the truth. There's something unique in Ellie's brain, and the doctors needed it. They were certain it could lead to a cure, which they planned to give away for free to everyone. But when Joel realized that meant opening up Ellie's brain, he changed his mind. He straight up told Marlene, "Find someone else who's immune." But they didn't listen. Instead, they held him at gunpoint and forced him out. 2 soldiers started escorting him out of the building. That's when Joel snapped. He attacked them and took them out. Then he went full force, taking down every firefly that stood in his way, heading straight for the operating room. By the time he got there, they had already knocked Ellie out. One of the doctors tried to stop him with a scalpel, so Joel shot him too. And when Marlene tried to block his way, Joel didn't spare her either. He shot her, saying, "If I let you live, you'll just come after her again." A few hours later, Ellie woke up, still groggy and confused. Last thing she remembered was being with the doctors. She immediately asked Joel what happened. Joel told her, "There were a bunch of other immune kids like you, but the doctors couldn't figure out much." Then out of nowhere, raiders attacked the hospital. We barely made it out alive. 3 days later, we see an army squad visiting the Salt Lake City hospital to honor the fallen fireflies. The squad leader, Abby, had lost someone real close to her in that attack. She was burning with rage. She told her group, "We're gonna kill Joel, no matter what. We'll make him suffer so bad, his next 7 generations will shake in fear." But finding Joel, yeah, that was gonna be like finding a needle in a haystack. 5 years flew by just like that, and there was still no sign of Joel. That's because he had already gone back to his brother Tommy right after all that happened. Over these 5 years, the whole city had changed a lot. The population had started getting out of control, and they were even giving shelter to refugees now. So construction work picked up fast, and Joel was put in charge of the whole thing. To spot any danger early on, he used to send out patrol squads outside the city every single day. Ellie and her best friend Dina loved being part of that. They were always up for taking risks. One day during one of those patrols, they ran into an infected that could actually think. It totally caught Ellie off guard and managed to bite her before she could react. Somehow, Ellie managed to kill it and hid her wound before Dina showed up. Now it was pretty clear. These infected were getting smarter. and that was a big warning sign. Anyway, 4 hours from now, it was going to be 2029. That night, Ellie and Dina met up and had a blast together. But then Dina got real close to Ellie, and some guy didn't like what he saw. He started yelling nasty stuff at them, and Joel stepped in and shut him up. But Ellie wasn't cool with that at all. She told Joel straight up, "I don't need your help. I can take care of myself." She was 19 now and getting more and more annoyed with Joel's overprotective attitude. Meanwhile, on the other side, after 5 long years of searching, Abby had finally found out where Joel was hiding. That night, they figured he was probably camped out in some small, rundown spot. But when they saw the truth, they were shook. The city was huge, with 4 guarded entrances and soldiers stationed all around. Joel had his own army now. Getting inside that place was damn near impossible. Abby said, "We'll take down one of their patrol teams, then we'll get intel on Joel Miller from them." But her friends weren't on board with that. They didn't want to hurt any innocent people. That was the deal they had all agreed on. Abby said, "We're not going to kill them, just scare them." After that, she went out to scout the area and gather some information. Meanwhile, Ellie had overslept, so Joel had already taken Dina out on patrol. Jesse was now in charge of watching over Ellie. A storm was expected to roll in, and it had gotten pretty damn cold. After keeping watch for a while, Abby couldn't take the freezing weather anymore and decided to head back to her hideout. That's when she spotted 2 people on horseback, probably out on patrol. While trying to follow them, Abby slipped down a snowy mountain slope and ended up in a place full of dead bodies. And right beneath those bodies, under the snow, were thousands of zombies buried. The moment they sensed movement, they came charging at her. Abby ran for her life as fast as she could and managed to take cover inside a nearby house. But the zombies found her again and were just about to take her down. Right then, Joel showed up and saved her. He and Dina had taken shelter in that same house because of the storm. Just then, Dina called out to Joel from downstairs, and that's when Abby realized the guy who just saved her was the Joel. But she couldn't take him out right then. Her pistol had slipped out during the chase. So before things got worse, they all jumped on their horses and made a run for it. Back in the city, a construction worker spotted a live fungus growing out of the ground. Within moments, panic broke out, because with this cordyceps, even stepping on it could wake up infected that were linked through the roots. And this guy had pretty much shaken the whole damn system, inviting death. In the emergency, kids and elders were told to head straight to the bunkers. Tommy immediately tried to contact Joel, but the storm had messed up all comms. So he reached out to Jesse and told him, "Joel's not responding on the radio. He might be in trouble." As soon as they knew what was happening, Ellie and Jesse split up, heading in 2 different directions to find them. They were supposed to meet up at a specific place in the end. Meanwhile, Joel's problems weren't getting any better. Thousands of infected were on his tail now. On the other side, the infected had breached the city as well. Tommy and his soldiers started tossing barrels of gasoline from above and shot them to set them on fire. A lot of infected got burned alive, while the others were shot down. But instead of the numbers going down, they just kept growing. Joel was still miles away from the city, and Abby's hideout was really close now. They might freeze to death before they even made it there. Abby said, "We've got blankets and weapons." So they decided to head to Abby's place to grab those supplies. But just as they were about to head out, a bloater appeared among the zombies. This series had 5 types of zombies, and the bloater was the biggest and the strongest. Bullets barely even affect them. Before they could react, the bloater smashed through a wall, and all the infected flooded into the city. Luckily, they'd already planned for this. All the kids and elders were safe in the bunkers, and only those who could fight were outside. Every house in the city had soldiers stationed at it, firing at the infected. That's when Tommy came face to face with the bloater. After a long struggle, Tommy finally managed to burn it down. Maria released her vicious dogs on the infected, and they turned out to be a game changer. Meanwhile, Abby led Joel and Dina right into a trap and took them to her hideout. Joel was losing it as he watched the city burn. He told them, "Grab whatever blankets, ammo, anything you need. We'll be out in 3 minutes." That's when Abby introduced him to her friends and finally said, "The old man's name is Joel." As soon as Abby's friend heard that, he aimed a gun right at Dina. Then they knocked Dina out because all they wanted was to get revenge on Joel. After that, Abby took all of Joel's weapons and smashed his knee with a shotgun. Joel screamed in agony, rolling in pain. He thought they were all fireflies. That's when Abby said, "The fireflies were gone the day you killed 18 firefly soldiers and a doctor. And that doctor was my father." Saying that, she started beating Joel with a golf club. She hit him so hard that the golf club broke, but she wasn't done yet. She started punching him. Watching this, her friends were horrified. Meanwhile, Ellie saw Joel and Dina's horse at the gate, so she rushed inside. Hearing the sounds of beating and Joel's cries, she quietly sneaked upstairs. Seeing Joel's condition, Ellie fired a shot at Abby, but one of Abby's friends grabbed her and caught Ellie. Ellie was crying, begging Joel to get up. After a lot of crying and pleading, Joel finally started coming around and tried to get up. That's when Abby shoved the golf club into his neck, killing him. In her rage, Ellie shouted at them, "I'm gonna kill all of you. None of you are gonna make it out alive." Not long after all this went down, Jesse showed up. He and Ellie took Joel's body and headed back to the city.